Welcome to the open mic. We do this call because MSPs wanted to know what we were up to in the platform, what's new, what bugs have we fixed, what new features have we added. A couple of reminders, we have Flow. We're very close to being sold out. Brian beat me to the punch of asking for it. Come to Flow, we want to see you. We could talk automation. Come meet your automation people. It's a safe place for automation people for us to talk about it. If you're building workflows, especially if you're new in Roost, let me think, how many MSPs, let me call on someone. The other Daniel with an A, how many MSPs have been successful that have never asked a question?
I'm gonna guess, and this is a wild guess here, just off the top of my head. One sounds like too many, so I'm gonna go with 0.
Exactly, 0. 0 people have been successful at automation without asking a question. And one of the warning signs when I'm talking to a new MSP around automation is if they think they're an expert. If you come into this thinking you're an expert, you're probably going to fail. So come into this with no ego, come into this with an open mind and with a ton of questions, and you will succeed. Yeah, let's have the Daniel with an A argument here. How do I differentiate between the two? I think Daniel B is the smarter Daniel with an A. What do we think?
Very original. I was the one who just said that, Aaron. Maybe come up with something right your own next
I
time.
didn't see you say that, so I guess we're in agreement. Also, learn from your peers, help them in Discord, normalize Discord. Discord is a great way to ask questions and get your answers. You have a private channel, abuse it. There are public channels, ask your peers. With that, I come back from a trip and we have an issue this morning. I know it's a pain in the butt for you folks, but we're over here also like in a panic, trying to make sure that you're impacted as little as possible. This has, we're working on a formal RCA, but I figured I would just talk briefly about it. We have microservices that run all the parts of the app. Our scheduled task or cron microservice started pegging our Redis database servers, which is something we've never seen before, did not think it was possible. And these Redis servers typically sit at 5% of CPU utilization or less. So completely not normal. We found a couple of reasons why this was occurring. One of them is with our stats collection tasks. The dashboard that powers your login page. We have background tasks that are collecting those, so they aren't calculated in real time. We have some error handling in that if we miss some stat collections, we'll store some data in Redis so we can come in and pick up the stat collection at another time. And then we also had, and this is we don't know if it's going to be part of the RCA or not, and that's why it's not released yet. We had one client that had a workflow listener on failure set up incorrectly, where that workflow listener was calling another workflow, which was like a backup workflow unrelated to failures, that had another workflow listener associated to that was the same one for error. So it was looping a completion handler on error. We don't know if that was part of it, but it was something that we caught. If it's not in the RCA, it was not part of it. I'm just giving you folks a heads up on what we found. If you want any of your workflows during that period rerun that failed, there's an email address that we posted and we can just kick them all off for you. Can someone pop that email address in to chat? You can just email that address and say, rerun my workflows that failed during that time period, and we will address it. Anyone have any questions or comments on this morning? We will, you can pop them in chat. We will post an RCA in the coop. So when we feel like the RCA is accurate, we will plop it in there. All right. I think that's all I got. Ashe, what's up?
Thank you. All right, so we do have a couple of workflows that are going to be demoed today. We may, depending on the timing, have some time. So if we do, we can go through questions, or if anybody has anything, I think I can meet a few of you. If you're on and you want to demo, let us know at the end. But before that, we will jump into our internal updates, and we will start with George with community.
Thanks, Ashley. A few little call outs on this week's meeting. First one, some of you guys have already been in there dropping your GIFs and getting the conversation started, so thank you. But on Discord, we have a brand new channel for Ninja under Birds of a Feather. So we have a lot of partners that are using Ninja, and so now we have a channel dedicated to talking all workflows and automations with Ninja One. So if you're using Ninja and want to collaborate and share ideas or have questions, you've now got that space to do that, and yeah, share some fun Ninja GIFs as well. There's lots out there. Second thing is, next week our team are going to be down in Denver for the PAX 8 Beyond conference. So if you're heading down there, please stop by the booth to say hello. But more importantly, on Tuesday morning, we have a breakout session with our good friends over at SourcePass. So Nate will be there together with Graham Rosenberg, or Graham Rosenberg, depending on how you want to say that name. It's a name, not a unit of measurement. But they will, they'll be talking all about scaling smarter with automation. So if you're interested in actually hearing the story of how SourcePass has kind of revolutionized and transformed their business using automation, how they're driving efficiencies, getting better results, and ultimately creating new lines of revenue as well, be a great one to stop by and mark in your calendars. So that's at 10:30 on Tuesday if you're at the Beyond conference next week. Aaron's already talked about it though. The best conference happening this month, and probably indeed this year, is Flow, that we are fast approaching, coming up at the end of the month. And I'm really pleased to share, if you didn't already know, we have our keynote speaker, which is Mr. Duncan Wardle from Disney. So Duncan is our keynote speaker, and he's going to be there talking all about innovation and creativity. So yeah, we hope to see you guys there, and are looking forward to seeing you all. That's it from me for this week. Thanks, Ashley.
Disney keynotes are pretty cool. That'll be awesome. Let's jump now over to Daniel. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. All right, let's open up our notes here. So we had an exciting week over here at Roost. We launched some cool new stuff, as always. So what do we have today? This morning, at our daily stand-up, Aaron said 3 minutes before open mic, I want this feature launched. And so I didn't need to give him more ammunition against me. So 3 minutes before open mic, we launched improved workflow page and workflow results page search and filtering. We also launched yesterday the Open Text Secure Cloud integration. We added a couple new transforms, thanks to Dan Hayes again for the transforms work. And then we launched the second most requested feature in App Builder. That is dynamic action options and dropdown components. We also did a whole bunch of bug fixes and chores here, as well as we added a couple more items to the coming soon section here. We have a workflow executions dashboard widget. I think that was already on there. And then we have marketplace searchability improvements. There's also a couple other items that we're hoping to launch in the next week or two that we're, again, internally testing before launch. But yeah, I'll show some of the stuff that we have been working on. Okay, so first things first, I can see here that, or you can see here that we have the workflows page. So if I go on here, again, the major kind of use case that I would talk about is if I want to look for crates and exclude sub workflows here, what you'll see is I have all of the primary workflows for my crates listed. If I go into here to look at this crate, I can go back and you can see that those filters persisted. You can see that there's filters listed here and I can just clear them like that. Again, I'll just show you what it looks like if I exclude and include. And then you can see here everything that you have applied as well. If I go into the results page, from here you can actually select, okay, if I had a workflow that ran on the 8th, I can double select that and it'll just show the workflows listed on the 8th. I can clear that and then I can go and list workflows in a date range and that will all apply. Brian, you're loud and clear about this workflow statuses. That's something that that we should definitely be looking at. You'll also notice that the search by workflow name has been moved up top here. So I believe it was over at the side here, maybe it was right under workflow name, but the search workflow name is up top now. Okay, so next we have Secure Cloud. So if I'm on the dashboard here, so OpenText Secure Cloud, for those who don't know much about it, it's a platform used to manage multiple elements tied to your cybersecurity. So it can help with email security, it can help with phishing protection, Microsoft license management, all that fun stuff. So from your dashboard here, you'll go into partner services and partner integrations. And from here, you can create and get your credentials for Secure Cloud. Now, if this Teams thing will move out of my way here, I can go over here and I'll show you all it is client ID and secret, and that's generated when you actually generate these API credentials. So I've already set this up, and then I have a workflow here that I've already run a couple times, but this workflow just has all the Secure Cloud actions here that I've run. Let's see if I can run this again. Test this workflow out. I also have, if I zoom out, I have the transforms actions here. One of the actions may fail because I've already generated a specified user with that email address. I didn't update the email, but you can see that we have, what I've done is I've made this into an options gen workflow, and I'm piping out the users. So I'll show some stuff with that later. You can see here that I've encoded a string, and then, so I've encoded a string. This is what the encoded value is, and then I've decoded the string, and the decoded value is Roost is cool, because it is cool. Okay, so yeah, to go back, this is an options gen workflow, and I'll just jump into App Builder here to string it all together. So I have App Builder open, just a blank page. If I create a drop down here, I can go in and you can see that there's a new option here for workflow generated. I'm gonna select my workflow that I was just on, and then if I go in here and I look at the result, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the first name be the drop down label, and the value will be the user ID. So if I go into here, the value is going to be the user ID. And I go into the label and it's going to be first name. And then I'm going to publish this. And I'm just going to refresh the page just in case. But if I go like this, and it will never work live because the demo gods don't like me. I just showed this. Let's try publishing it again, sorry. I'm probably doing something wrong here. Demo was going so smoothly, and then I had to go and mess it up. So I didn't need a trigger before, but maybe let's try that out. I don't think I need one, but let's go App Builder. Let's enable it. Let's go. Open mic, do I have the right user ID and first name there? I think so. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's all my labels. So those are the first names, and then in the back end, it's the values are going to be the user IDs. So with that, I think that's all I have for today. So yeah, I'll try to follow up with the questions in chat. But back to you, Ash.
Thank you. Just needed to ask chat. Chat always has the answer. All right, let's jump over to Jared. Marketplace time.
Okay, so this week in the marketplace, we going to be releasing two crates. One of them is a refactor of the ConnectWise Pod Technician Toolbox. This is a pretty old crate that we thought could use a lot of love. So we went ahead and did a rewrite of that. Looks really nice. We also created a new crate for Cork, one of our, I think it's a fairly new integration. Basically collects security compliance events and converts those to a PSA ticket. Has some nice logic around the creation of tickets in it. We have a pretty good number of bug fixes and enhancements, a lot of this surrounding our initiative to do regular testing of our unit testing of our workflows. And we have a few items in the coming soon. One of them that we put down here was patch deployer. I've seen a copy of that. And so far, the form looks really good, and I look forward to sharing that with you guys when we release it. Those crates will be released sometime after open mic today, so check those out. That's all for me.
Thank you, Jared. All right, so now let us go over to Clea and see what she's been cooking up.
I am here and slowly pulling up our docs page, so bear with me for 1 second. There were a lot of shout outs this week, and of course, we share that right here in the chat incoming. I'll share my screen. All right, gonna try to do it in one breath as always. I'm not gonna say it's because we created a new certification page in the last week or so, but we had more folks get certified for both certs than ever before. So to join the ranks, check out that page. Go take the exam if you want, or to complete the training, and each of these paths finishes up with the exam. So that said, back to shout outs. For Roost Foundations, we have Sophie, Phil, Cameron, Neil, Michael, Jerson, Josh T, Christian, Matt, Miles, Tony, Hans, Warren John, Josh C, Jake, Brad, Giesbert, Christian F, Mark R, Paul, and Mike R. I did it. And for Clean Automation, we have Joshua, Bruce, Matt, Tony, Nan, Florian, Warren John, Ronald, Josh C, Miles, Mike R, Jared, Jack M, Cormac, and Jennifer. Some people might get double shout outs because I did napkin math. Like, I don't have a fancy automation. I look at a report and I write down names. So congrats to everyone there. As always, reach out to us in CluckU Discord or at clucku@roost.io with any training feedback. We've got office hours coming up. I think the next one is June 23rd. But if you are strapped and need something in between, email us. We'll see what we can do to set up something custom. We do have a brand new course to shout out, and specifically, I want to give JP, who just presented the marketplace updates, some credits. Here, he helped us with the content for a course on getting started with completion handlers, And if you're like, what the heck is a completion handler and why should I care? Well, it allows you to kind of customize a pre-built automation or crate. Like if you want to use the just-in-time admin access crate, but you want to add just a little something extra at the end, like send you an email about what just happened, that is exactly what we teach in this course. So go check it out, share your feedback, and yeah, go forth and prosper with completion handlers. What else do we have? Some of our onboarding courses got a slight makeover for just clarified content, shouting out exactly what you should be doing during onboarding to set up key integrations, your org variables, etc. And then our PSA integration course now features 2 different brands with demo videos. We've got Autotask in there in a 5-minute demo and ConnectWise PSA demos, about 12 minutes or so. We have some new and updated documentation. You can grab all those links that I shared in the chat, but just to shout out a few: PowerShell updates, organizational setup report crate, open text secure cloud integration, stuff about workflows and results page filtering. That was new to me today. I checked it out, had some fun. It's nice and colorful, so go enjoy that. And then we also have some early documentation that we're continuing to work on for new kits and their related sub workflows. So kind of special crates. Go check that out. And last but not least, base 64 encode and decode transform actions. I don't know what that means, but it is documented now, so I could learn. That's it for education. Any questions or feedback, feel free to share in the chat and I'll monitor.
Thank you, Clea. All right, so we are going to jump over to our demos now, and one of our favorite open mic presenters is up next, or facilitators, I guess, Linda.
Hey guys. So I don't know about that whole favorite thing, and then you wrote like legendary in the post, but that's Eddie Chow. So, you know, he's the man, the myth, the legend.
Legendary Eddie would agree that you are also legendary, Linda.
Well, thank you. I just have a quick one to show off for you guys today. I'm sure many of you get, in this case, renewal quotes emailed into your ticket system or to a distro group of people. And we do that as well. We have these lovely quotes that come from a generic email address, and they go to our email connector in ConnectWise. So there's not really anything at the start that will indicate which customer is this for, what it's about. It does have some information in the title, but since the name of the customer is at the very end of the email, it often gets cut off. So what I did was created a trigger that essentially just looks at new tickets added on a certain board, our sales and account management board, that are in a new status, and that either come in as catch-all, or in the case of this ticket, they come in as Ingram Micro. And I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. So we're totally going to pretend that I shared all of that stuff that we just talked about. And I'll go back and just show you the quick generic email that we get here. It doesn't have anything really much identifying except for the customer name, which frequently gets cut off at the end of that email. So I built a trigger to grab those tickets as they come in for a new ticket record saved. And then I pulled the information from the ticket and essentially dug through those tickets to figure out in the audit trail, this is your friend and very helpful inside ConnectWise, to find that those tickets come in and they all come from the same address actually. And it is this right here, Arctic Wolf Licensing at Ingram Micro. And so inside of the ticket, we make sure that that is the contact email address. And now we know we're talking about the right tickets. We grab the initial body of the ticket note, because that includes the company name that this is for. So if we look here, we have a whole bunch of information, HTML formatting, all of that stuff, but inside the body of this message, it always identifies the company for us, the client that this is for. So in that case, we use a split to basically find everything. Here we'll do a 0. That's all the fun stuff before where it says end user name for the client. And then we have everything that comes after that point in the body of the email. And of course, this is what I wanted, which is right after that. So I'm going to split it again, this time by new line, and give me the first line, which is the company name. So now we know who this ticket is for. We identify it over here. We do a quick get on the company, update the ticket to that company, and put it on the correct board. And then this last part is my favorite part. It's actually something that one of my automation engineers, Corey, built. And it is a sub workflow that looks at the team tab of ConnectWise. So we store information inside the team tab, not only like what techs work on the account, but also who is the account manager, the sales originator. And so in this case, I would want to find that from ConnectWise. And we actually use this workflow for a couple different things. So we've got, I'll show you that part in a second, but we've got paths here to find the techs that are associated with the client, the sales team associated with the client, security resources, maintenance resources. And so we use the same workflow, and all you have to do is pick one of those buzzwords to put in as the team type, and it will list whatever we need from that. So in this case for sales, the output that we're going to get is the company ID, the name of the account manager, and the length of the list. There's only one account manager per company in ConnectWise, but we have that just because we copied it over, and there could be multiple techs per company in ConnectWise. So based off of this, we now know who the account manager is. And I just grab that person's name from the results of the sub workflow. And then it is formatted as first name. And so I just use a split again. That seems to be my favorite filter here. And I'll grab first letter, last name. And based off of that, grab the member ID because I have the identifier, and assign the ticket to that member with a generic API call. So we just took a ticket that was not very useful and just going to sit there until somebody manually found it and figured out what it was, and got it into the right company and assigned the account manager to take a look at this renewal.
That is so cool. I love that you also showed us the sub workflow. I was going to type that, but then I was like, no, I'm going to say that like this. Yeah, you didn't just breathe over that. You're like, here's what it does and here's how it helps. That's super cool. So did he create that like after you guys were already like solving for this ad hoc, or was this like a serendipitous kind of thing?
So he created that probably about a year ago, and it just had two branches, one for the tech team and one for the sales team, so we could get the account manager. And then we started doing auto assign of tickets. And so we built out our own type inside of the company record, so you can make your own custom team records. And so we built secondary techs. We built a tech that handles the maintenance for that client, the security tickets. And so what that led to is us very easily being able to auto assign tickets by just grabbing the type of resource that we needed.
That's really cool. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions? You were getting a lot of love, a lot of people who are dealing with the same constraints. Only we had some intuitive email parsing companies that like actually. Okay. Let's jump now to Trey. Trey, let's jump to you now.
Cool. Hey everybody. I'm going to continue with the theme that Ashe gave to me several months ago now of simpler automations for a lot of the new people, because the Roost user base is growing like mad, and I like to show off some of the simple stuff because it's going to gloss over a lot of people's heads. So Aaron mentioned at the start of the call that there was a rogue failure handler. What I'm showing off is a failure handler, but mine was not the one that was rogue. This is our V3. We actually already have a V4, so this one's getting shut down, but it's still something cool to look at for those that need something simple. The concept of it is, and I'll throw it up on screen before I dive into it in deep detail, is handle when things go correctly and when things don't. So we call it a ticket tool listener, not a failure handler, because it also handles successes. So at the beginning, we get some variables from the completed workflow and set them all. And then we do a PSA health check. We host our PSA on-prem, and with going on over 500 technicians in our PSA instance, sometimes it's not healthy, or we have to shut it down for maintenance, or we've acquired another MSP and we're merging them, so we shut down all the APIs, whatever it is. Sometimes it's in maintenance mode, so we've got an org there to check to see if it is in maintenance mode, so it doesn't try to make unnecessary calls and error some more. And then it branches into two core sections. The side on the left, this is when there was a failure and we need to go handle something. Side on the right is when something went correctly. I'm going to start with when things go correctly. So we'll double check that, yep, it was a success. It then hops into the ticket and throws a success URL into the ticket, which looks something a little bit like this. So the automation has ran successfully. If you think there is an issue on unexpected behavior, submit a ticket to the AOC and utilize the data below. There's this super handy report issue form right in there for them. This has some of the fields pre-populated. If you haven't seen, I think it was last week's open mic or a week prior, but we kind of dived into that where you can pre-populate some fields. So we've done that here. We've been doing that for a while. So most of the data that we need on our automation team's side is already in here. So the ticket number for the ticket that was affected, the execution URL, so we can just go find it easy. And all they really need to tell us is the severity and, this don't work. That'll go and fire off a Jira bug for us to go look at. If I go back in here, beyond that, in the success side, there's some retry loops and failure management just to make sure things work cleanly. Because sometimes PSA doesn't want to behave or times out or whatever. And then over on the right is some management in the event that PSA is online, but a ticket has failed. So it'll write a failure note with a similar output, just that something has failed. And then it also resets our ticket to a default status. Sometimes when failures happen and we account for every failure possible inside a workflow, but it's still crashed for one reason or another, this is kind of there to catch that. So at minimum, it reverts things back to the default status. We also have a workflow within our PSA to catch that, but this runs a little more frequently and it's faster. And in certain scenarios, like with our security team, speed is everything. So that's what happened on that side if PSA is functional. PSA is not functional, or if there was a failure, we've got the left side, which is Jira based. We do a lot of our development sprints and bug tracking and whatnot in Jira. Similar as before, status checks, getting some vars, setting some variables, and then a super simple sub workflow that just asks for the workflow that failed, customer execution, the usual stuff. And that workflow does one thing. It creates a bug in VRF. After that, it goes and it grabs another org var. That org var is who's the primary assignee for the managing org of that customer. So when the Jira bug is created, it'll go back and assign it. If it's not assigned, it just goes into the pool for delegation. But we like to have it pre-assigned if we know who it's going to, because now we're at a team of 15 Roost engineers. So it can get carried if I don't know where it needs to go. Demo this super quick. I have a super complicated failure test workflow that's all it's going to do is fail. And if I go watch it, come on, demo gods, really. The demo gods aren't with me this morning. Oh no. Yeah, no, they're not with me this morning. What's wrong? Dang. This is why it's the old version, is we've got this one out already. But the concept's there. And it makes life super easy because on our Jira end, we get something like this with this is what's failed, the managing org, the customer, workflow ID, execution link, which we can just open. And then delegate, assign it in here, move it to different projects, make this a child of a improvement or an epic or whatever, and treat bugs more like an actual bug and less like just a ticket to go fix. So that's my demo.
That's really awesome. I love the use of the execution link in workflows. I think that that's one of those things that when people see that, sometimes they're like, wow. Like, so like, because you can grab the results execution ID while it's running, and that's just what you use to plug that in, right?
Yep. Yeah, you grab it. All I do is, and you can do it in any, but anything is complete workflow, org ID, execution ID, and you're good. And then pass that into different stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Does anybody have any questions for Trey before we move on? A lot of positivity.
This is completely unrelated to the workflow, so I apologize, but I saw something really cool in your ConnectWise service ticket tab where you have like a Roost workflow integration.
This guy?
Yeah. Is that custom? I've never seen that before.
No, it's not custom. That's probably at this point a year old.
Okay.
Someone on the rock might tell me otherwise. Yeah, that's the pod when you guys did the V1 ticket tools within Manage.
Oh, the
pod.
pod.
How old that is. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to get somebody to demo the new ConnectWise pod once they've had a chance to use it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the documentation. I just glossed over it when I set up the ConnectWise thing, so I will look at it again. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's gotten some love fairly recently, and a lot of folks are just moving to using App Builder to do the pod because you can customize it a bit more. The one thing with these pods is you have to run it in the browser instance versus if you're using the FAT client on Windows. For me, that's not an option because I'm on Mac, but just asterisk in there.
Yeah,
some people care about it.
You can create pods, like that's a custom ConnectWise thing, right? You can create pods for anything you want.
Yep. Yeah, you can have it be anything. We have like 50 different pods. I don't have them all shown because there's too many, but times S, I've seen people do bookings. You can do all sorts of stuff.
Love that. All right, so we are now on to our last demo for today, and then we will have some conversation time. Jonathan, he's actually got a super simple one for us. So we'll see how long he can stretch it.
Yeah, super simple. Though I think everybody's got a super simple workflow. So I guess I'll just get straight into it. I just want to make my life easier. I'm in workflows all day long. I want to make my life easier. And part of I kind of come to like a tipping point where I'm like, I want to add retries to everything, but the process is kind of annoying. You know, you drag in a no-op, you drag in a delay workflow, you tie it together, you write up a little bit of Jinja, and then you hope that you didn't mistype something in Jinja. So what I'm going to show you is a workflow that probably half of you all have already, which is just putting that retry logic, that condition into a workflow. That way I don't have to type it every time and I can't mess it up because I made it right the first time and I can just add it into my apps super easy. So I think probably if you were looking closely, the person before me actually probably had like something extremely similar to this in their workflow handling the failures. So the idea is that after you have this workflow, all it does is it checks the retries that are provided versus what you're currently on. I do some parsing from strings because I like submitting things in strings because it means I don't have to open a Jinja window. And then I delay if we're actually retrying. Very, very simple, the idea. But what it means is that if I have, you know, some other workflow that I built out without a care in the world about things failing, you know, I've got like 5, 10, 20 graph actions, or I've got ConnectWise, or I've got whatever, because I didn't want to make a sub workflow for everything. I can now just have my retry action. Oh, retry, my retry action, and just absolutely streamline the process in a way that I can't mess it up. So the nice kind of novel feature that I've put into this workflow is the fact that you can see the Jinja that's provided as a default in the, like, after I drag in the action, it's here, it's right here. So I can have what I want to be set as the retry increment counter just here. So like I literally don't touch my keyboard. I've got a key binding to copy. And then whenever I create my on failure, I just paste in with my keyboard binding to increment the retry counter. That way I don't have to type any Jinja at all. I just connect my things back and forth. And I use the fact that I have this in here to just copy this snippet that I know I'm going to use the snippet because it's associated with the retry. And then you just have to make sure that you do the biggest roost catch-all ever and make sure that you change the transition criteria. So that's all that it really was. And then you can, you know, configure your max retries, your specific delay, whatever. But it means that, you know, I want to add in another retry down here. Bada boom, bada bang. I've already got it on my clipboard. It's no longer kind of a hassle. I can just like add it in fairly easily, not have to worry about like messing up typing out these things. The only thing that you can mess up is forgetting to set the transition criteria. And then you gotta make sure that if you ever did a retry counter, you want to reset your retry counter if you're going to do another one. But if you ever run out of retries, this action's going to fail, and you can, you know, you can just have a failure catcher on this. And yeah, this is something that I realized that I could do like last week, and I'm like, why haven't I been doing this the entire time? This makes it so much easier to add in retries, and it's just so dead simple. It's just like a 3-action workflow. But I also really like this idea of adding in input variables that aren't actually going to be used. You know, this doesn't serve any purpose in the workflow, but I can put a Jinja snippet in here that is useful, and then I have it on hand whenever I'm trying to put in place this action. So you can also, you know, take this idea a little bit further and just give yourself kind of a toolbox action where you have different snippets for different Jinja that's commonly used. If you don't want to have to like go to VS Code or go look in some other workflow, you just drag in your like, you know, kind of toolbox action that has all of these Jinja snippets just right on the sidebar. And that's pretty much it. I tried to keep to my word. This is actually the simplest thing I've ever presented. And yeah, that's it. Voila.
That's really good because like you could do the same thing with templates, but templates are a bit can be a bit more challenging, like in knowing the template ID, putting that into an input variable is very cool.
Yeah. So you could do the same thing if you really want to get lazy, you can just you can have like a macro definition, or you can have like how to parse a date time, whatever you use frequently but don't want to have to look up, and then you can just have it on hand whenever you want, just all within the workflow interface. But yeah, and unless there's any questions, that's all I got.
Any questions for Jonathan?
I see how you could expand on that. Is you have a sub workflow that all it is those input variables, nothing else. You always put that at the beginning of every workflow you do, and you will always have access to those snippets.
Mm-hmm. I had my privacy shutter on the entire time and I didn't know. Turned my camera on for no reason.
It looked cool though, the background.
Yeah. All right, back to obscurity.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in with anything? We've got about 13 minutes left now.
I can show something simple that I've just figured out, which is a concept people could use.
All right, let's do that, Rod, because I was about to call on that little person on Emmett's lap.
Like I've shown you guys before my reporting and stuff that I did. And one of the things about calling the different forms and stuff is knowing when things are running. So I have this report here that for all the data. So what I've added to this, if I want to go and I need to refresh the AD information, I click on this. This triggers through a webhook my AD workflow. But if you notice up here, it's giving me a status of what's going on. When this is finished, this doesn't take that long. When this is finished, it says that it's finished and it'll come in green. The basic way around this, you want to utilize this, is I use the post results, the update text element content. So all that I've done is I have a text element in App Builder in a little HTML window, and on my web page here, I'm putting that in an iframe, and I refresh it every 5 seconds. And just in my workflow, at the beginning of the workflow, I'd say that it's running. At the end of the workflow, I say that it's completed, and you get a status window. Simple as that.
This is your your Power Apps. Okay, that's so cool.
Yeah, this is in Power Apps. So
Yeah.
because I'm having embedded somewhere else, but you essentially can have the same thing by having the update text element portion of App Builder is quite useful, because I just at the beginning I update it with certain values, and at the end I put it with other values. Then I wait 2 more minutes, and then I clear the values. That way, this can be used multiple times. Basically, reset it. Anyone finds that useful? That's simple.
That's awesome. Okay.
And there, now you see there, it shows it's been refreshed. And then all I do is reload the page to get the updated data.
That's cool. Thank you. We've got 10 minutes left. I want to shout out MS. It's so funny. The quickest way to get veggie straws and Mickey Mouse. So like, that's a mystery tool. We can use later.
Reed had his hand up. Reed, did you have something?
I was just going to share a big win that we got out of Roost in the past week. So I'll try to make the background as quick as possible, but we use a product called Perception Point for our mail filter, and we love the product. We love the way their AI works. It's just we're really happy with it. But the best way to use it is to install it in line so that you have connectors and mail flow rules. So mail still is routed MX to 365, and then as soon as it arrives, it's supposed to go to Perception Point. They do their thing, classify it. If it's just junk, it delivers and is SCL'd into your junk folder. Microsoft, though, in their infinite wisdom, has got levels of Defender that you just can't turn off. There's a limit to, I mean, if you wanted to just manage 2 spam filters completely all the time, but despite months of back and forth with their support and sending submissions and having them make little tweaks and things get better for a couple weeks and then they're bad again, I finally decided I wrote a workflow that I can share quick because it's not too complicated. So this basically just gets our roost orgs, runs a simple check for the Perception Point connector using Exchange. This is all Exchange Online stuff. We gather the results, we filter it out so that we have a list of just organizations that are using Perception Point. And then we come in here and we get a basic start date for our quarantine search, which is a parameter on this workflow. We get the quarantine anything that is quarantined that is not outright malware. We get those messages, and then we go through and we get the headers for all those messages and apply those. And that's what's going to let us run the battle axe against Defender. So we can filter on those headers into stuff that never even got sent to Perception Point. Like they just decided outright it was phishing. Most of it is just plain junk mail. And I'll pause to insert one of the real issues. Like we have a client that's a major PR firm in LA, and they actually need to see email from like stuff that everyone else would consider junk, but they need to see it because it might contain an article about one of their clients. So we can take the stuff that was never sent to Perception Point and just straight up release it, because now it's going to go through the scanning, and if it really has a problem, it won't come back from Perception Point. If it has already been scanned by Perception Point, this side's even worse, so they determined it was clean. Microsoft still turned around on the way back and quarantined it again. So we released those, except that in our Exchange Online command, we also include to report that as a false positive. And so this was able to be set up on a cron that once we got the backlog caught up, now every hour this just runs for all of our clients and we don't have to worry about this. And I can't just emphasize the problems it has caused. Like we had one client that does trading basically, and massive amounts of money on the line in doing a financial transaction when you're told to do it. And if Microsoft decides, ooh, this looks like this might be a phishing email, when it's someone you've communicated with before, it's just ridiculous the way that their AI would kick in. So anyway, this has been a massive savings for us. So thank you, Roost, for letting us be able to do these things.
So cool. Thank you for sharing. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns, grievances, feats of strength? About 4 minutes left now, so otherwise, Aaron, do you have any Final words for us?
Was trying to have some AI fun over here and ran out of time. Much to Daniel's chagrin, I can't do it. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We have Flow coming up in a couple weeks with some huge announcements for platform changes that we've been working on for many months. I'm super excited to stress out marketing with my Flow keynote. With that, participate in Discord, help your peers, help the new MSPs who are trying to figure out how to automate, and let's make everyone succeed. With that, thanks for joining and have a good weekend. I'm happy to be back.
Meow.
No.
Thank you, everyone. Happy weekend.
Good one.